Okay, now we're going to transition into the community forum section. The questions in this section are going to be submitted both from the community and individuals. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to the questions. Let me stress, we are not looking for tired rhetoric about what is wrong in our communities. All answers should have specific details on the policies and funding that they will use to apply to take action on specific issues if elected. Our colleagues will flash signs, as you've seen, to let you know when there's 30 seconds. Please be concise, and remember, we control the mics. First question, please, for Michael.
Michael Lythcott, National Black Theater, and I want to welcome all of you again. A lot of people are talking about gentrification and what it does for the housing, but no one's really talking about what it's doing for our arts and culture organizations. As you know, arts and culture is the economic engine, especially here in Harlem and other places. What are you guys going to do to help the arts organizations stay in this community and make it affordable for us to thrive here and to serve a growing population?
You have to stand up first, and we'll move down and come around.
So,
right?
the Department of Cultural Affairs has what's called the CIG, which is a large conglomerate of nonprofit organizations that all fight for the same pool of money. And depending on who you know, and depending on how good your lobbyist is, that often determines the fair share or unfair share of that pot. Is everybody following me? So I think it's high time. I worked on the board of the Harlem Arts Festival. I was one of the founding board members to help them raise money in their infancy. And I understand the struggle of a small nonprofit or arts and culture organization that's trying to get its way. I've also served on the board of Harlem Week. I was the co-chair of the Greater Harlem Con Edison Harlem Historic Bike Tour, okay? And I've worked with many organizations. So the way to solve this issue is, one, to go downtown and fight for a larger share of the CIG, make an analytical or a quantitative argument that shows, that can prove that funding has not been equal. And it's high time that we have someone who understands government, how to get it done and make it happen. When Dr. Barbara Antier started this organization, opened this place, right? It was open for this place to be, and it is, the mecca of arts and culture in America. Because no matter where you go, when you say Harlem, everyone thinks about Harlem's culture. Whether it's the business culture, whether it's the housing culture, but more importantly, arts and culture. And the Apollo has done a good job of rebuilding its board, okay? Because Percy Sutton came in when the Apollo was really in dire straits and built it up. And it's kept moving incrementally since then. But since that time, you have the Harlem Arts Alliance, you have yourselves, and you have many other arts and culture organizations and starving artists that are looking to grow. And it's high time we have a council member who understands it and will work with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Really quickly, I want to say, so you guys know, you can look right here to know the green paper is going to be 30 seconds. The red paper, your time is up. And then I also forgot to mention at the beginning, I'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to our media partners, both Silicon Harlem and On Point. All right, a quick round of applause. Thank you. Please stand up.
Harlem is a very famous community. We get a lot of tourism. We get a lot of people that come here. I don't know if it's ever, I would ask that we quantify the tourism that comes into this community, and we ask for our fair share of funding as it relates to our cultural institutions. I see buses, tons of buses going through this community, tons of visitors going to the Apollo and other places taking pictures. We need to get our fair share of those dollars that come into this community. As was mentioned before, there is high competition with arts and cultural money. There's a fight that goes on, and it seems as if other institutions, non-Black communities, seems to get most of the funding. We do have to become more activist-oriented, and we have to fight for our share and make sure that our groups get the same amount of funding and more funding. I think that our institutions are educational. They provide a lot of educational resources to our schools. We need to get funding that comes from education. We have to look in other areas. We also have to look to private funding to help our organizations. We have a lot of smaller groups that may not have a grants writer, that may not have a proposal writer. but they need that kind of support, and they need people who can go out there and help fight for them. I'm a council member who wants to do that, who wants to work with the arts in this community. Our culture is one of our most treasured possessions, and it's worth fighting for and protecting. And I will do it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Marvin Holland. One of the things I immediately did when I heard about the situation that was going on here in Harlem with our art institutions, both this place here, the National Black Theater, the New Heritage Theater, was to call up the Chair of Arts and Culture, Jimmy Van Bramer. And I asked him when was the last time he had been to Harlem, and he said it's been a while. So I said, you need to get your butt here, because he's the one who controls a lot of the stuff and the way the money's divvied up with arts and culture. The only way we're going to change that situation, and one of the reasons places like this are not funded, is because this is a real grassroots place where you can see some things that you won't see anywhere else, not only in the city, but not in the country. When you have a place that you can come and have a Pan-African event, or some of the different type of events that you have here at the National Black Theater, the city is not going to want to fund those type of events. Let's be clear about that. So what you have to have is a councilman is going to go in there and say, no, you will fund the National Black Theater. You will fund the New Heritage Group. It's not about the lobbyists and all of those people who I know very well who are all over City Hall. It's about having a council person to go in there and demanding funding for the arts and culture in Harlem. Harlem is the mecca of arts and culture for the entire black diaspora. That means that this is a special place, and we got to stop acting like that this is just another place. This is Harlem. Harlem is the most accessible community in the world. There are more train stations here, there are more buses here, every highway leads into Harlem, and that's why everybody's trying to get into Harlem and move into Harlem. But the number one thing we must do is protect our arts and culture and our history of Harlem, and it starts by getting to places like the National Black Theater properly funded.
So I have funded the National Black Theater, and I don't know of any large or small art and cultural program or institution, whether it's in the public schools or whether it's on the corner of some place in our neighborhood, that has shown any credibility that didn't get funded by my office. So art and culture, to me, has been a priority focus, not simply because of art and culture, but because of how it attracts our young people, how it motivates our community. And so there's nothing second to art and cultural funding, whether it's out of our own money that we get as elected officials, or whether it's tapping into other statewide or even national funding entities that we won't use to make sure that our arts and culture in this community that we're going to be representing is getting that kind of funding. No matter how, whether it's a block association or whether it's some institution as magnanimous as this one is. Arts and culture, we believe, are very, very important to the vitality of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Of course, I support arts and culture. I support it in schools. I support it in the neighborhoods. Arts and culture is our legacy here in Harlem. Of course, I would fund it. I would use discretionary funds to make sure that there are cultural things, that there are entertaining things happening in Harlem to preserve the legacy of Harlem. So, of course, I support arts and culture. And in fact, the first block event that I had as vice president of my block association, we had Broadway stars come and do a Broadway show on our block event before. We put together the 4-block coalition, and we started having wine tasting events and things like that. I think those things encourage community, and they encourage police and community relations, and they do a whole lot of good. So I would absolutely always support arts and culture.
And I agree with most of my colleagues, but I will add to this. When I look at Harlem, Harlem is an international community. And we need someone that sees Harlem not in a vacuum, but from an international perspective. So the very first thing I want to do is to market Harlem internationally. It's a must. You must do it. Because when you're overseas and you think of Harlem, you think of how can you capture Harlem. So marketing Harlem and the arts and culture overseas is the very first thing I'll do. The second thing is benefits agreement. When I was on the community board 9, one of the things we did was we restructured the West Harlem Development Corporation, which gives millions of dollars to not-for-profit organizations. But that was in a benefits agreement. So with every development that's happened in Harlem, we must make sure there's allocation for arts and culture within those benefits agreements. Third, we must continue, because we have folks that come around and see Harlem and so forth, but they're not stopping at some of the local businesses. And we need a map. So when folks come to Harlem, they say, oh, whoa, you know, there's Cherie on 117. There's this restaurant that they actually spending their dollars, not just in one avenue, but all of Harlem. Thank you.
Hi, Athena again. I certainly support what my colleagues have said, but I would add to that I've been working through the Manhattan Borough President's Office, allocating funding and resources currently to arts organizations. Some of those organizations you've heard them mention, whether it's Harlem Arts Alliance or my service on the board with Harlem Tourism Board, or whether it's the resources that we provide to arts and education in schools. We provide over $27 million to nonprofits and schools through our capital budget and our expense budget, and I will continue to make sure that Harlem arts and tourism organizations are prioritized. I also want to just make sure that we're clear that part of being a legislator means that you also propose legislation for reforms that need to take place in this community related to arts. And so where there are gaps and shortages, making sure that legislation is being proposed and that my colleagues would also be enlisted to help me advocate strongly for those resources. I also would continue to work in partnership with the philanthropic community. Part of my journey I share with you is coming from the nonprofit sector, and many of the resources that are there are underutilized and undertapped for our communities. And so making sure the Ford Foundations of the world, which I continue to have relationships with, can be leveraged to our benefit. But also, in addition to that, making sure that New York & Co., we currently have an initiative with New York & Co. where we're giving cultural tourism grants right here in Harlem to places like the National Jazz Museum. And I will continue to leverage those kinds of public-private partnerships on behalf of the community. I am a dancer, I am an artist outside of Manhattan Public Service, and so I want to make sure that arts is also preserved in terms of the historic legacy here. Thank you so much.